Hi guys, welcome to the No Bullshit Gymcast podcast. My special guest today is Charlotte. Charlotte, thanks very much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
That's great. Little intro about yourself. That'd be amazing for the followers and for everyone to, obviously come and, get to know you a little bit before we crack on to these questions.
So yeah, I've been training for about 3 or 4 years now. Reached out and got a coach. 4 years ago, coming up to just kind of reached like a plateau in my own fitness at home. I was training in my patio at 4 a.m. in the morning, doing random circuits, just to kind of like keep functionally fit. But just literally plateaued, got to a point where I thought, no, I actually want to venture into a gym for the first time. Signed up to a gym, love training. Formed a great relationship with my coach. Within a couple of weeks, people were literally like, do you want to compete? I mean, I literally had no idea what bodybuilding even was. Literally had no idea what it was. I remember Matt showing me pictures of like bikini girls, me being like, oh god damn, like that's hench. And now here I am, obviously kind of 3 years down the line, still haven't quite found the category that works for me, because I tried to compete as a bikini athlete and was told I was too big. Tried to compete as a figure athlete this year and was told I was too big. So now we're hoping that with women's physique, I doubt very much I'm going to be told I'm too big. So pushing for a physique stage goal at some point, but at the moment, just really enjoying my coaching and just kind of developing the business.
I'm going to ask you, do you find it specifically hard now that you've gone down the non-fashionable route of sticking into, say, bikini, and you've tried to go on to figure, and now you're obviously too big for figure? I've seen your physique. Some of the guys and girls won't have seen your physique, but they will in the video. At the end, we'll put a photo up of your physique currently. But how do you find that with that side of life?
Initially, obviously, when you have people close to you saying that they don't like how you look, I think I could stay here and be like, oh, I don't give a shit. But when it's people close to you and they have a negative opinion of you, I think you would have to have a very bizarre makeup if it didn't make you just be somewhat more self-reflective and question, like, okay, what are my goals? Why are these people around me not liking it? But once I have processed those questions, I am now at that point where I genuinely don't give a shit. I could not give two flying fucks as to whether someone thinks I don't fit a social mold of how I should look. I wasn't a year ago. I think it would have affected me more, but I am now at that point because I'm a lot more invested in my own journey and I'm happy. I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm able to balance everything. I'm happy. I'm healthy. And, if you don't like how I look, then I honestly am now at that point where I just don't give a shit.
Cool. So going on to this next question, that's sort of relaying into what you're just saying is how does strength training benefit actual women, right? Now, there's strength training how we would probably program for a client, but then there's strength training how you train for specifics. Now, do you feel that there is major differences, or they're quite close together, but people determine them like far apart?
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously, there's more nuanced levels of training when you're training for a competitive goal, right? Your physique needs to be developed in a certain way. Most girls probably, without meaning to stereotype, would probably want to build glutes rather than necessarily build massive lats, But obviously, if you're competing, you have to create a certain shape. But the fundamentals behind strength training for women, obviously, women need to strength train for the same reasons that men do, but there are more that are going to be more specific for women, like in terms of their health and longevity. We've got less muscle mass than men anyway. We are, less anabolically active, so we are going to be losing more muscle as we age, especially in those kind of perimenopausal and menopausal years. And strength training, actively helps to combat that decline. It helps to maintain a healthy metabolism, functional strength. Then there's obviously osteoporosis for some women, which is more common in that postmenopausal phase, and weight bearing and resistance exercises stimulate like bone growth and help prevent fractures and bone loss. There's actual kind of health and longevity benefits to it, not just an aesthetic.
But this is the question. Do you think society go, oh, no, can't have muscly women, can't have this, it's not right, they have to just do cardio? That's it. Just do cardio.
I think there is a shift where it's getting better, and I think we are more accepting of women with more of a muscular, defined, toned look. I do think the shift has changed, and we're in a position where it's sort of, you know, better than what it once was. But you know, the fitness industry is absolutely merged with just people that are constantly trying to tap into women's vulnerability, where they don't want to feel like they take up space, they don't want to feel like they, you know, have a big clothing size. You know, I mean, I don't even think I can fit into a jacket. There's not a single jacket I could buy from a female store that would fit over my back. And there probably was a time where I thought, oh, okay, I need to be a certain size. But once you're kind of in the gym world, I think you start to realize you get a support network around you, don't you? You kind of find your own like-minded people.
Yeah.
And
like,
I think if
you're drawn to like-minded people, it's like,
yeah,
my clients are like, oh, well, some of them are like, oh, we'll go to the gym a couple of times a week, but still go out on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday night and booze it up, right? Whereas
yeah,
now starting, some clients are going, oh, nah, sorry, I can't do it this weekend. I'm not jeopardizing what I've just done for the whole week,
yeah.
for the sake of a night out. But I just think it's so blown out of proportion, and I think the industry itself is blown out of proportion because of this as well. There's allowing a lot of people who are unqualified, reading X, Y, and Z off the internet. Oh yeah, do this, do that, do this, do that. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I think obviously, you know, it's a complex issue to say that all fitness influencers are sort of misleading the public. I don't think that's a universal truth, but I think there's definitely a wide spectrum from there being highly ethical and qualified professionals, but they're often not the one that are disseminating the information that the average twat that's only got an 8-second retention span to read a reel will actually listen to. You know, they'll see some guy that's strong, that's on trend or something, and be like, oh, we'll get on the trend train. Do you know what I mean? Because they literally just have no cognitive capacity to actually listen to people that are actually qualified.
Do you not feel that society itself, though, these days is
Yeah, it's a
literally the
generational
attention
thing.
span of a gnat? And it's
Yeah,
like,
well, I'm a maths teacher. I have been before coaching, and I've seen it over the last 4 or 5 years more so than ever. It's almost like a pandemic where the retention of teenagers and what they can recall as information is absolutely at its worst that it's ever been. Their attention span after about 15 minutes, they're just completely out of the room. They've gone. You tell them one thing, and literally 2 weeks later, they have just completely forgotten it. But that is definitely a generational thing. I mean, you see it with that kind of that dopamine effect of young babies when they're looking at blue lights on an iPad. I've seen these kind of videos of someone taking away a phone from a young baby as young as 18 months and it has a massive tantrum, not because it's the phone, but because they're addicted to the light. And as soon as it gets given back to them, they're then calm again. You know, it's rewiring their brains. You know, they're unable to actually process information. I think technology has an amazing place. A lot of people I know have learned more from technology than they ever did in a classroom dynamic. But unfortunately, because it's not monitored and it's just used as like a babysitting kind of tool for a lot of people, they're just getting the wrong information given to them. And yeah, I think obviously social media, these fitness influencers that come on the internet and sort of, you know, share these unscientific claims and spot reduction myths, you know, fat loss in a specific body type, lose your belly fat in 7 days. It's a hook to try to get people in. It's just unrealistic expectation and kind of body image. It's like illusion of perfection. You know, editing their photos. There's obviously strategic posing and lighting. You know, like not ever disclosing the drugs that they're peddling behind the scenes. So there's
it's you know, it's one of the questions we've got is, are fitness influencers, are some really misleading the public? And yes, I 100% agree on this. I think they are. I saw a reel the other day, actually. It's absolutely unbelievable. These two couple fitness people do courses, etc., get shredded in 6 weeks, blah, 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 blah. Had a nice big doorstop wedge, right, of bread, white bread, okay, with the thinnest layer of Nutella over the top of it, right? And in this other bit, in the other hand, they had a doorstop, and I'm not joking, it's like this thick. And then on top, there was this much avocado, literally that deep. I was like, they're like, absolutely, avocado's bad for you. Look at this amount. You can have this amount of Nutella for
because
this
of the
amount.
calories. They were saying that the avocado one was more calorie dense.
Yep.
and so you shouldn't choose it because it's more calorie dense.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, that's just mad, isn't it? Again,
but you're talking about the thinnest layer, literally,
yeah, volume.
of like Nutella over the top of a doorstop piece of white bread versus a doorstop piece of bread and a it was literally a whole avocado mushed on the top of this.
I know they're not even thinking about the fiber content, you know, all of the healthy fats and kind of the micronutrients and how one thing kind of processes and helps your gut health and all the rest of it, you know.
Not the fact of how many processes that Nutella has gone through. It's not even weighed equally. And yes, there's nothing equals in weight versus in calorie density, right? But 100 grams of like avocado is a lot less than 100 grams of goddamn Nutella.
It's a hook, isn't it? Because the average fat arsehole wants to still be able to eat Nutella in their diet. So they're like, oh, I can eat Nutella over avocado. And look, if you're a lifestyle client, of course, you're going to be able to incorporate some of the foods that you crave to be able to create a balance that allows you to stay more consistently on track. Of course there is, but not to the detriment of health, not to the detriment of actually feeding your gut good food. You know, a lot of disease stems from the gut. And if you are constantly peddling it with just nasty food, the reason you're addicted to Nutella is because your gut is unhealthy. You know, if you get that right and you get that set, you're going to stop craving that Nutella.
100%.
You know, you want in an evening, like when people are hungry, if you could eat a chicken breast or a steak, you're hungry. If you're not wanting a chicken breast or a steak, you're not hungry. You're just mindlessly eating. You're craving something, right? It's true.
It is true. It is true. So obviously, how do you personally, okay, stay motivated on a regular basis? Obviously, us gym nuts, we love the gym. I get that. But even so, we have at times shit times. As I say to my clients, you're never ever going to have 90% workouts all the time. Very rarely they're all 90%. I say you aim for 75 to 80% all the time. Try to aim for those parameters. Sometimes you're going to get your 50% workouts that you turned up. I don't feel it. I'm not feeling great. Whatever the excuse is. Yes, you've turned up. You've done your workout. It might not be where we want it to be, but we aim for 75 to 80% most of the time. How do you stay in that sort of like realm of positivity, motivation?
Yeah, see, for me, it isn't motivation. It's not a conversation I have with myself. It just gets done. You know, when I wake up, I brush my teeth, I wash my face. I don't think, oh, I don't want to brush my teeth or wash my face. It is a non-negotiable appointment in my day, my training. And it is now at a point where I'm so in love with it that if I don't do it, my energy levels are lower. If I don't do it, my stress levels are higher. If I don't do it, my sleep is worse. If I don't do it, I feel less confident. If I don't do it, I feel like I'm damaging my overall health and longevity. I'm addicted to the progress, and I'm addicted to the feeling of knowing I've absolutely given it my all in that session. That feeling every single time is enough to get me out of the door. If I'm ill, it's different, right? But I've never had to have, honestly, I'm not, I did a post a few months ago saying, I'm not going to be that fitness influencer that tries to be relatable. I'm not going to be that girl that sits on the beach with a little fat roll. Oh, look at me, I've got a fat roll. Aren't I relatable? Look at me with my cellulite. Aren't I relatable? I ain't got no fat rolls and I ain't got no cellulite. And I definitely don't have an issue with my motivation because I'm disciplined. I've got goals that I want to achieve. And unless I pull my finger out my arse and go and do them, I'm just going to be sat on my arse moaning that I've not got there. If you're a lifestyle client and you are learning new skills to get yourself into the gym to better your life, motivation is a massive part of my coaching to help them get to a point where I'm at. But when you're at that point where you are so invested in it and you love it, it is literally the highlight of my day. I never have to have a conversation with myself about, do I want to go to the gym? Because the answer is always yes.
Right. Here's my question to this then, my own personal question. Do you believe 4 years ago, whatever made you switch in your head, you switched your not values as in honesty, love, and all the above, but your self values in your head? Did you switch? Did you have a switch? Go right. That's it. I just want to do this. I want to learn you know, I want to get fitter, stronger, whatever. And then it's progressed into obviously competing, etc., etc. But did you have that little switch?
Yeah, I think initially, rather than a switch, I think initially it was a nadir. I think I'd hit such a low point in my confidence that I recognized there was only one way out, and that was up. I couldn't get any lower. I just felt hollow. I felt like I didn't have a purpose. I was a mum, and I felt like my whole world was just motherhood. And actually saying out loud that that wasn't enough for me was something that I feared saying, that people would be like, well, you're obviously not a good mum. But it just didn't give me they are my world, my children, but that doesn't mean that I can't have other things in my life. And I think I had just got the balance so wrong. I was so invested in just being a mum, training at home to make sure that I could still do everything that I needed. I mean, I had 3 kids all under 16 months, so it was obviously very challenging to sort of have much free time outside of them being so young, like when you're breastfeeding and all of that sort of stuff. But once they got after COVID and they got to age 4 and went to school, it was like, what am I doing with my days? I'm at home, working from home, making cheese scones for when they come back from nursery. Like, it just wasn't ticking my boxes. So for me, it wasn't so much a switch, it was a low point. I just hit a point where I think I could have found anything. I would have probably tried anything, even if I tried Pilates or yoga or swimming, there would have been something that I wanted to try. It just so happened that I wanted to try the gym. It had been on my mind for a few months prior, but I just kept on saying, now I'm all right throwing a kettlebell around at home. But it just got to a point where that just wasn't all right for me. I didn't have these big goals about where I wanted to go and what I wanted to do. It was literally, I just want to go to the gym. That was my first step. I just want to walk into a gym.
Nice. I like this. I like this a lot. So obviously your kids are what age, between what ages are they now?
They're 10 and 9 and 9, because I got twins that are 9.
You got 9 and 9. So obviously, again, how do you, obviously you've got a supportive partner, right? Well, ex-partner, but is a supportive dad, shall we say?
He's the best dad in the world. Yeah, he's amazing. Brilliant.
So for instance, what do you say to your lifestyle clients, obviously, or competitive clients you're looking after as well, when they say, I don't have the time because of the kids?
So if you are a single mum and you've got kids under the age of 4 and you can't leave your kids at home to be able to go to the gym and to be able to actually have anyone look after your kids, then there is obviously a very valid dynamic there in terms of you physically cannot get to a gym to be able to train. That's one thing. That doesn't then mean that you can't train. We can do home workouts, we can do steps. If you can ever get anyone to look after your little one, amazing. You could then incorporate that. So I have a lot of clients where it's a home workout dynamic. Anyone telling me that you don't have time in terms of, get up 5, 10, 15 minutes earlier, right? Doing 5, 10 minutes across the week is probably going to be every day across the week is probably going to be better than trying to fit in one 60-minute session, right? And then just kind of build up from there. Even if it's little things like optimizing your commute to work, walk or cycle rather than getting the bus, park further away so you've got further to be able to walk, all of those sorts of things.
I'm sure you've heard every excuse under the sun, just like myself.
Yeah, and I mean, I have a lot of clients that are like scaffolders or workers, and they're obviously on a building site all day, clocking in 30,000 steps, and they still manage to go to the gym. They get it done first thing in the morning, get it done before they go and actually work. Because I actually think a lot of the time, if you are absolutely knackered from your day of work, it's probably going to be more difficult to do it in the evening. But if it's if it's a fat loss phase, you don't have to be doing that in the gym. You can still manage that by implementing your good habits with your steps, your water intake, sleep, your nutrition. If you wanted to be a bodybuilder and you wanted to step on stage, I think you would really struggle, obviously, if you were telling me you didn't have the time and you wanted to do things as a home workout. I think that'd be a slightly different dynamic. But in terms of, scaling it back to someone that's actually just trying to change their habits to get healthier, to drop some body fat, if you're telling me that you can't get up 20 minutes earlier to be able to fit in a little HIIT workout at home, your goals aren't important enough to you.
Yeah, I just find it with clients. Some clients have the dream of wanting to have that end result, but don't want to do the bit in between.
Yeah, and I think sometimes people want something so much that they think that wanting it that much will get them the result. Like I've had students as well before coaching that just because they've signed up to a maths tutor, think because they're having a lesson, that is literally their rite of passage to get a grade A. It's like if you get a PT, it doesn't suddenly mean you're going to get shredded and be able to squat 200 kg. You've still got to put in the work. You know, the coach is the sat nav, right? We're guiding you, but you've still got to turn on the engine and actually drive. Yeah, I mean that's what I think. I think if you are obviously people that do shift work and things that are like pilots and stuff, again, that's very difficult when you do work shifts because your circadian rhythm and everything all out of whack.
I used to have a pilot, so he used to fly internationally. So we used to say if he was on long haul, okay, we would always try to get him to do a workout before he flew, right? And then obviously he had to rest up for so long on at the other end. And we always had that rule if you're flying back, say for instance, Australia, he was in Australia. So he did like Sydney to LA or something like that, a long haul, right? We used to go workouts before you jump on the plane.
Yeah.
And it worked. But some people, I get it's shift patterns. Some people are on varied shift patterns.
Yeah, I think also if you have some kind of like trigger as well, where it's kind of like, if you have your coffee, you then put on your gym workout clothes. If you do something that's a habit that you then actually associate to then something that you go and do gym wise, that can sometimes help. When you get home, you have a shower and you put on your gym clothes. That's just becomes something that you then do.
It's a bit like I work with, obviously I do sports rehabilitation as well. So for postural alignment work, we always you brush your teeth twice a day. So you bring your chest up and you're holding yourself through your core. So you're brushing one side and then you relax. And you do that twice a day. And then it suddenly becomes a habit because you end up going to the sink. Oh yeah, I'm just going to stand up at the sink and put water in the kettle or whatever. Next minute, you're walking around a little bit more straighter. It's like I say, you do it a little bit, but a lot of people just don't want to do that first little step, do they?
Yeah, and I think I find it overwhelming because they're looking at where they want to get to rather than just, you can't just jump across the ocean. You've got to literally just kind of take your little individual, sit on the raft first and just paddle your way across. You'll get there eventually, but just stop kind of having this long-term goal because it's just going to feel so overwhelming.
But then again, I'll take it back to influencers, social media. Do you think that it's being sped up? The expectation of it sped up. Like, I'll say, for instance, you didn't have a clue 4 years ago you're going to be doing physique.
No.
You know what I mean? That's 4 years. It's 4 years graft. I always say, look, my client, my ex-client now, she's in Canada. It took her 10 years of real hard graft before she stepped on stage at the Arnold's.
Yeah, but I think in this day and age, it's almost like a rite of passage. You get a gym membership and you put some chicken and broccoli in a tub and suddenly you think you're a bodybuilder and everyone's like, are you going to go and compete? And it's like if you say no, they're like, oh, why not? Just because you use the gym and you're paying a direct debit and you eat perhaps 4 meals a day out of a tub 4 times a week, that doesn't mean that you should go and step on stage. And this is the issue. I think I don't want to step on stage again until I've got a physique that I am proud to present in that category. But it's almost like we are just degrading the sport year after year, where these federations are just dealing out pro cards to people that literally just look, they might look like they're the fit girl around the pool in Marbella, but are they literally like shredded to bits and look like a bodybuilder? No. And there's a place for that beautiful, fit, gorgeous girl in kind of fit modeling or like the Gymshark modeling or in fit, like whatever else. The bodybuilding stage should be a physique that represents something that is so unattainable for the masses, that is so elite, that is so extreme, but it's a business, right? And we're constantly lowering that boundary of entry.
I had this same conversation with my old president that I judged with Wabber. I'd sponsored the last pro show in the UK, personally up at Body Power in 2019. So, and I judged there. We had we had 13 judges there from different countries. So, I represented Australia for it. But obviously I just moved back to the UK, but I still represented Australia for it. But at the end of the day, I said this the other day, the sport has got, okay, yes, it's a business. I understand that. Fully understand that. Not a problem with that bit. But it is literally straight off the back end of COVID. It was, I think there were 16 pro cards handed out, and now it's even more each year. Where's the standards?
I know, and it's definitely getting to a point where if you compete and you don't get a pro card, you now actually feel like you're a bit of a failure, because it's almost like every Tom, Dick, and Harry has. But I've actually seen a number of people that have a more impressive physique that are not pros. And I think, in the big federations like Two Bros and PCA, I think it would be very hard pushed to say if you've got a pro card from the IFBB or from PCA that, you don't have a good physique. I'm pretty certain that those federations. Am I being too kind? Okay, no, I was.
I know I like call things a bit controversial, but come on. There's some people in IFB. Well, it's definitely Two Bros. Yeah. Backhander. Thank you. Definitely's happened there.
And I think, what I didn't really anticipate was so much like you've got to play the game, you've got to work out what judging panel like your look as well, and what you see different bikini athletes, a British athlete suddenly flying over to Tokyo because they know that that's going to be the stage where their look's going to be kind of awarded best because that's what the judging panel like. It's kind of madness. I saw a girl actually turn pro over in India as well recently, and you just sort of think, good Lord, that look literally was like, me 2 years ago, and this was a girl in a higher rank than me. So it's just getting to a point now where every single Tom, Dick, and Harry can step on stage. And don't get me wrong, as obviously a coach, the transformation that I see of some of my clients and the confidence that they get from getting in shape, and if they ever wanted to embark on a competitive journey, I think that is testament to their growth as a person. But I don't believe that the bodybuilding stage should be a place where you showcase a transformation. I don't think it should be a place where you showcase, oh, I dropped 12 stone and I'm now confident in myself. That's not what a bodybuilding stage is. Just because you've got in good shape from where you were, it doesn't. And this is the issue. Like, we just constantly keep saying that everyone is allowed to do everything. The reality is, if you're not in elite competitive shape, the bodybuilding stage is not for you. And that is totally fine.
I'll hold my hands up. Nah, won't do it again, ever. Done, dusted. It's not me. It's not me. Being a I'll judge, quite happy. It's hard, it's stressful, but I've coached, I've coached people to elite levels, but at the same time, it's a case of wake up and really, really, smell what the coffee is, because it's like I've got an old interview with John Hodgson, IFBB Pro, one of the best out of England, like, apart from Flex Lewis and say Dorian Yates, best mate with Dorian Yates. And there's a whole point in that whole interview I did back in COVID, right? John says it absolutely right. There is the condition, the hard graft. No one wants to put the hard graft in anymore. It's all done.
Like what we're saying again about social media and stuff. I think a lot of the time we only ever see that end result. How many people do you really see posting all of their glam kind of off season? Oh, look at me bulking, eating all of my chicken and rice. We don't tend to see all the hard graft going behind the scenes in the off season. We just see that end look, that kind of vascular, striated kind of look. And we've almost like idealized, and they have this narrow body image now in marketing that fit. That's fit, that you're healthy looking like that, that lean and muscular look. Every advertisement in front of a gym is of someone that's shredded to bits, but when you're stepping on stage and you're sub 5% body fat, you are anything but healthy. Your appetite's absolutely all over the place, your hormones are tanked, you're literally like the worst version of yourself.
Sex drive's gone, the whole shaboogles. Some people have it opposite. Okay, some people, an ex of mine, she's competed, sex drive went through the roof. You know, other people, you know,
Was that all the primo she was on? Sorry.
not amongst all the other stuff as well. We won't add that in there too much. But hey, you know, when you're prepped by a very popular IFBB pro, no names mentioned. But yes, that's all we'll say on that one. But I feel there is a dark side. So one of the, you know, the questions is, you know, is there a dark side to this community? I think there is a mega dark side to this community.
Mm-hmm.
Huge dark side.
Well, I think definitely the promotion of the unrealistic like body standards and body dysmorphia, you know, the ideal physique, being extremely lean, visible abs all year round, sort of, you know, obviously undisclosed peds that are often used a lot of the time. That level of body dysmorphia. I mean, I definitely have body dysmorphia. I think any bodybuilder that's chasing a goal has some form of, you know, body dysmorphia. You don't see yourself.
I personally think anyone who goes and wants to lose weight or is not, it's a bit like this. A few years back, they were talking about, oh yeah, larger people doing advertising on TV and billboards, this, that, and everything else. They're all body confident. They're all amazing, no problems. They're not. Realistically, are you walking down the street being a size 18 and stupidly happy?
No, you're saying it out loud to tell yourself that you are.
Yeah, exactly.
And
it's
actually,
the same process with
using those overweight models, and that is overweight. You know, if you're like 5'2" and you're a size 18 or a 20, you know, you are overweight. And in my opinion, I don't think that there is any less damage saying that that's a normalized healthy look than there is putting an anorexic on a catwalk model. You know, we very much kind of lambast the skinny size 0, but actually having someone that's a size 24. What was it? There was that thing that was on the news, whatever, about that fat woman talking about being on an aeroplane and how the seats.
Oh yeah. She was then charged. It was American Airlines, I think it was. She was charged two seats because she took up.
She's the size of 2 fucking people. Quite right.
Well, exactly. It's only fair. You know, at the end of the day, it's like you go and ask, like for instance, World's Strongest Men, like Eddie Hall. Eddie Hall has to pay and booking like well in advance to go and get the end aisle seat at the very front with the biggest amount of leg room.
But we're also namby-pamby in this country. Like in Japan, you know, they weigh you in your office, you know, and if you are putting on weight, you're not going to get paid. You're not going to get your bonus. You know, they keep people in good shape. You know,
that's why they've got longer living people than the Western world.
We use the word fat over here and we suddenly get told that we're discriminatory or, you know, all the rest of it. You know, it's not a derogatory word. It's a descriptive term, like calling you tall or short if you're fat or thin.
It's like you're muscly. No, can't do that. No, you're no, that's really upsetting me now. You've just called me muscly. I'm man. No, you're not manly. You've got muscles. Yes, you've worked your ass off in the gym. But some people would say,
but we're not allowed to use any descriptive words now, like he, she, you, they. You know, we can't use it all. But I guess also like there's, you know, disordered, really extreme health eating, like orthorexia and stuff as well. You know, I definitely have had a couple of friends in the past that are so obsessed with eating clean that it just goes the other way. You know, they're blending avocados with MCT oil and kind of weighing out their chia seeds, and anything that's not green is just literally like, no, I can't put that in there. And obviously, if you have a goal where you need to lose weight, you need to be making sure that you are tracking what you are eating. Just because you're weighing your food, it doesn't mean it's restrictive. I mean, certainly my parents are of that era. If they see me weigh out chicken and rice, they're like, oh my God, you've got an eating disorder. But, you know, it's not, I don't mean like that in terms of if you have a goal, you do need to have some form of restrictive boundaries in terms of what you are eating. But there are levels where it just goes beyond that and it's just consuming your every single thought, you know, this unhealthy fixation on just only eating certain foods where they've just demonized other foods.
It's a bit like you know, we'll mention this influencer, right? Because I think, you know, his growth is just been ridiculous. And you know, I could say some stuff, but I'm not going to say exactly what. But like, for instance, IFBB Pro, Mr. Eddie Abu. Come on. You really, come on. Yes, that works, but it's now been proven in America, right, that the carnivore diet is not sustainable.
Yeah, there's actually very little.
Who came up with it has turned around and come out and said, it's not sustainable.
Yeah, so I know quite a lot about all of these sorts of diets because I've dabbled with a bit of keto and all of this in the past pre-bodybuilding, and I'm definitely not of that stupid mindset that says, you've got high cholesterol if you eat high cholesterol food, because you don't get high cholesterol from the cholesterol in your food. Egg yolks don't give you high cholesterol. The issue with the carnivore diet is nobody actually knows the longer term ramifications to your internal kind of mechanisms 20 years down the line, because it's still so new. And also, like, who the fuck just wants to eat like blocks of butter and whatever else he's talked about? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no. Who like, look, I've done some crazy shit in my time. I ate for 9.5 weeks only white food, right? Shredded me up, looked great for it, don't get me wrong. But boy,
White food, what,
egg
marshmallows?
whites, chicken and fish. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah, crazy. But been there, done it, and worn a t-shirt, and at least I've learned. I'm not going to say it was an amazing thing to do, but eating like 32 egg whites a day is not an enjoyable factor of life. But it did work. Okay. So, there is rights and wrongs to everything, is there not? It worked for me. I personally wouldn't give it to a client. I personally wouldn't go on and say, Charlotte, yeah, get that extra little bit.
I think it's more about the sustainability for that client as well. There's no point giving them something that they can only adhere to 100% for 4 days of the week. If then for 3 days they're completely gone off, it would be better to give them something that's sort of 70% effective, that they are 100% consistent with.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'm definitely not someone that believes in removing entire macro groups at all.
No,
I just
no. Mine are like across the board, everything: fats, carbs, protein. Yes.
I mean, some people definitely do enjoy the cognitive benefits of a lower carb diet where they feel slightly more mental clarity. I still want to kind of find out a lot more about, hypertrophy in that kind of more ketogenic states. The reality is you don't see too many people stepping on an Olympia stage that have followed a ketogenic diet, right? To build muscle, I would say we do need some sort of glucose and carbohydrates coming into the system.
Definitely.
But for some people with some diseases like epilepsy, type 2 diabetes, a lower carb diet can massively help relieve and sometimes reverse some of these medical conditions. So again, it's like when people talk about dropping weight from being on a low carb diet, we all know that's just the water weight that's just come off, or we should all know that anyway. And it's about what works best for that individual. I know if I don't have any carbs, I'm just going to get to a point where I'm so hungry, I'm just going to literally go hypo, and I'm going to end up probably over consuming in a binge because my body's just not happy on zero.
I'll just be raiding the cupboard, so or the axe will be coming out and it'd be grinded up and it'd be nice before I kill someone.
Definitely get angry, yeah.
But but I think my issue is and this has always been a bugbear of mine in the whole industry, is there's so much misleading just to get one over the next person. And I just think, man, really,
it's a sales pitch though, isn't it? It's like that even in kind of like car sales or house sales.
Exactly.
They take you around the house when the railway's not kind of going, or when the planes aren't flying over so that they create this ideal environment to kind of pitch it to the vulnerable so that they buy into it. Everything's a business at the end of the day. It's like Herbalife. I've got a client that was on Herbalife, and that has scarred her so deeply, like in terms of mentally weighing herself every day, being told things like chicken in a wrap for lunch is not what you should be eating. You should be eating these bars that they do, shapes and stuff.
The highly processed bars that they do.
You just sort of think, if someone's telling you that you shouldn't be eating chicken and avocado and salad, then there's something genuinely wrong with that. Like, do you
but it's the same with Slimming World. Come on, realistically, right? The word sin. Come on.
I know, my mum did that. I think there's like red days and green days, or is that the way?
Red day, green day, and then your sins. You're allowed your sins.
And you can't mix protein with carbs on some days.
No. Yeah, certain days you can't do that. No, you can't do that either.
Yeah, because obviously if you eat tuna with a bagel on a Friday, you're definitely going to get fat.
Fat, yeah, 100%. You're going to put on 10 kilos straight overnight, yeah.
But if you eat one of their carrot cake bars, just the whole pack of them on a Friday night, you're fine.
Yeah, or if you have your sin of your bowl of pasta, which isn't weighed out, it's not set, it's just a bowl of pasta. Wait a second. I'm coming in with the
Yeah, get the 2 kg one.
2 kg bowl, please. Yes, thank you.
And they're not learning habits, are they? They're not learning how to be
What?
able to do this outside of that regime. You know, once they
No,
get
it's not. It's set there. I call Slimming World the cult of the
100%.
nutritional world.
I think Herbalife's like that as well. But I mean, if anything, it's probably better than Ozempic, isn't it? Because that is literally just
Well, oh, here we go. So I went to the doctors because I had my bloods done 4 weeks ago. They messed my bloods up, so I had to wait 2 weeks. Went back yesterday. Was it yesterday? 2 days ago. What was it? What's today? Wednesday I went. Wednesday I went. No joke. That just blew my head. No joke. Woman comes in. She's probably a size 18, right? I'm like, I bet you have not done fuck all to lose weight. Nothing. She comes up. She goes to the receptionist like this. Here's my pen. It's not loading. It's not working. I need a new pen now.
mad.
It blows my mind that you.
I saw this thing with the doctors where there was an overweight woman and she had all throughout her life believed she had a slow metabolism, and they checked her metabolic rate by she had to drink something and they processed how quickly it went through her system. And anyway, to cut a long story short, her metabolic resting rate was absolutely perfect for her age. Absolutely perfect. It was textbook, right where it needed to be. So I think a lot of these fat people, and also the solution was able to detect how many calories she had ingested. So in her diary, she wrote down that she had put in 17 to 1900 calories, but off the back of the data, it's actually about 3,500. So obviously people are mindlessly eating things. It's like peanut butter. You know, if you lick the spoon.
Oh my God. So yeah, peanut butter, great one, right? Weigh it out properly and then eat it, right?
Then you realize you probably don't need it because that's a more fucking portion. But yeah, I think people. But is it their fault when they're surrounded by just so much misinformation? You know, they need to find a vessel that allows them to put all of their ideas and thinking into one headspace and just go with it. You know, they're constantly everyone wants the easy route as well, don't they? So they'll just jump from one thing to another.
The best one I've heard lately is, no joke, this guy came to me. His testosterone level was shot. And I mean, well, it was not even 13.5, right? It was below 13.5, which is bare minimum levels, right? You know, you don't really want to be going below 13.5 per an animal, right? And I was like, right. He goes, well, I've chosen to go on TRT, right? So he's front loaded his TRT. I was like, how do you know what level you need to be on? Because you've done this privately. You've not gone to a GP and said, right, this is where my levels are at. You've just gone privately and ordered a load of tests, basically. So that's that one. Then I looked at his cholesterol. I'm not even joking. It was off the scale.
Yeah.
It was in Mars. It was like, I'm like, everything. His ALT absolutely shot to hell.
What was that? Was he on a load of oral drugs or something prior to that? Was something going wrong?
Don't know. He goes, don't know. He goes, I haven't taken anything, like, I've done gear in the past, right? Okay, what's the past? I haven't done anything in the last 6 months. Right, okay, well, fine. Maybe. Could still cause problems, right? I'm like, what's your diet like? Gave me his diet.
Bad. What was it?
Macca's, chocolate. He goes, oh, I've given up chocolate. I was doing at least 200 grams a day of chocolate.
And this is what people don't realize. It's not just a visual aesthetic that they are ruining with that poor food choice. They're actually harming their organs. They're harming the processes that are going on. You know, you're slowing down your metabolism. You're not building any lean muscle because you've barely got any protein in your diet. You know, you're doing everything to create a fat body that's just going to die young.
Exactly. And I'm like, you're in your 30s.
Yeah, it's tragic, isn't it? And I imagine a lot of people could probably naturally enhance their testosterone levels without having to go on anything. Just
it's 37 TRT. Oh, man. Okay. But he said, that was it. He said, yeah, I'm going to front load. I'm going to do 200 meg. That's not TRT. That's not even double dose TRT. I'm like,
I wonder where he's got that number from. Has he just like read it from someone that's what they're taking and just sort of
haven't got a clue. Haven't got a clue. So then this is the kicker. So I am, long story short, I helped his girlfriend out from a very sticky situation, got her in fantastic shape. Not going to say who, where, and what, but no joke, guys, I've got £100 to spend a month on my health. Right. You think you're hiring me for £100 a month? Yeah, that's all I can afford. But
I don't know what these people have been living. Have they just been living in a cave for just sort of, like the last however many years?
I haven't got a clue. £100.
But I bet they would be fine spending 60 quid on a Domino's and a side of fries and a couple of Haagen-Dazs in the evening.
Suddenly a holiday of like.
Yeah, and I get this a lot when obviously like I'm booking calls and stuff, the money situation, if it's ever going to be anything, is obviously the sticking point, but you know that money is just going to get spent on other stuff anyway. And actually, if you cut back on buying your food from Sainsbury's every night because you're not meal prepping, if you actually cut back on those 2 takeaways that you're having with your partner every single week, and if you cut back on going out drinking mindlessly on a Friday night, not necessarily even for the rest of your life, like once you're in shape, it's
no. They want the reward. They want the body here. I want to be bikini ready for my holiday in 6 weeks. Right. But I don't want to do the work over here. I don't want to do it. I really don't want to do it.
But again, I think there are a lot of people that put out there, you can get this without having to make any restrictions, implement any restrictions, and I think if you think that you can get a different look to how you look, carrying on doing what you're currently doing, I think you need to check your head, because in order to make any change to your physique, there's going to have to be a change to your routine.
Shake, rattle, and roll the head more like. But I'm sure we could discuss this all day long. But I'm going to crack on and smash on some myths now, right? So here's a couple. Eating late at night causes weight gain.
Bullshit. Weight gain or weight loss is defined by your total calorie intake over a 24-hour period.
Sorry, Charlotte. Your body's got a clock, right?
Eating 200 calories at 10 o'clock at night is still 200 calories at 10 a.m. But I think the difference is in the evening when you eat, it's mindless eating, isn't it? You're often overeating. You're sedentary. Some things that I would say, obviously digestion, when if you've got quite a slow metabolism and you're eating right before bed, you can feel sluggish and you can wake up feeling bloated and you can feel worse. So in terms of the digestive process, I would agree it may not be optimal. Personally, I don't like eating right before bed because I actually do like to have my body just to give it time to rest and like recover and just sort out its detoxification processes overnight and stuff. Might go against the whole bodybuilding thing, making sure that you're kind of anabolic all of the time. But I actually don't want to just be a bodybuilder that destroys my health. I actually want to make sure that my body is.
I think the fact of it is you overload your system. If you're constantly eating, and this is what people don't understand, is you're overloading your system, and your system only take same as a car. If you constantly leave it at 9,000 RPM every single gear change, you're going to wreck that engine at some point.
And if you are eating late and it affects your sleep quality, obviously sleep is crucial to weight loss. So where this gets misconstrued is the knock-on effects to how it makes the individual feel. And then if they wake up the next day and they're a bit dehydrated because they've eaten something really sort of, full and heavy the night before, if they've kind of grazed on stuff, they've done it obviously where they're pretty sedentary, just watching TV, it can kind of lead to that feeling that it was the food that's been at nighttime that's made them put on weight. But it is just calories in, calories out, right? Your metabolism obviously like fluctuates throughout the day, but doesn't suddenly just shut down overnight. It's
according to the world, you can't do it at 10 o'clock at night. You can't eat at 10 o'clock.
I mean, one thing that definitely does shut down your metabolism is if you're drinking alcohol, because obviously as your body is trying to process getting rid of that toxin, it's not able to process digesting the foods that you're eating. So if you're consuming alcohol late at night or any time in the day, then that is obviously a surefire way to ensure that your metabolism is slowing down and you end up storing body fat.
Exactly. So on that one, yeah, like I said, you haven't got a clock in your body. Your body eats when it eats. Lifting weights make women bulky.
I fucking wish. Come on, happen to me. I want to get big. I want to get wham.
Come on,
If
realistically, okay. So you've been doing this 4 years, right? Okay,
yeah.
and I might put you on the spot with this, right? But I think I know the answer already. Is 99% of the population of this world would probably look at you and go, "Yep, bodybuilder, that ain't natty."
I am still natty. Yeah, I am still natty. So I was throughout puberty. I might be too much information sharing, but
No, crack on.
I I never started my periods, never happened. And I got investigated for my hormones when I was about 17, 16, 17. And they found that I had almost non-existent estrogen. It was undetectable on the levels. So I have ovaries, I have my eggs, but I don't have any signal from my hypothalamus going to my pituitary gland to release follicular stimulating hormone or luteinizing hormone. So my whole menstrual cycle has never happened. So as a result of having no peaks and troughs of my hormones throughout the month, like a woman would, my levels are flat. So my testosterone levels are still within female range. I don't actually know what they are now, actually. I want to get it done again. I mean, I haven't needed to because I haven't.
What were they last time?
I would have to pull that up actually to find, because it was quite a long time ago that I got that done, like 3 or 4 years ago. I'd have to find that out.
I would say they're probably elevated levels purely because of the mass size of you, right?
Yeah, I mean, I have symptoms of high testosterone. I'm quite hairy. I'm fucking aggressive.
Yeah, well, yeah, we know that one. Like, little story, Charlotte was it a bit under the weather about 3 weeks ago? You were like, I don't want to rest. I don't want to have this day off. Oh, fuck hell, man. Just chill out.
Yeah, that's like the Mediterranean roots, though, isn't it? It's just kind of, it's like 0 to 100. It's just, I'm passionate. That's what it is. I'm passionate and intense.
Some might call it something else.
But no, my coach and I have spoken about it from the start, and I was going to go on a cycle last year, which would have been 2023, when I was going to compete in the 2024. So I was going to start at the back end of 2023, but I got cervical cancer. So going in and out of hospital, getting myself cured for that, it was not the time to even consider peddling anabolics. So that whole year passed by, and then we entered obviously my prep phase for this figure show, and it was kind of just a goal of mine to be able to step on stage as a natty just to see where I land. That was literally what I wanted to do. Just
but the thing is, you've done it the right way, Charlotte. Like, guys, I know of her coach, Matt, obviously a very sensible guy, talks how it is, straight laced. But you've obviously done it the sensible way. And realistically, look, you're 4 years into the sport. Okay. Yes, you have this condition, yeah, and it's a very, very rare condition, ladies and gents. But at the same time, you don't really need to be pushing anything if you're gaining this size already.
And this is more the conversation I have with my coach. What would be the why? Is it because I want to expedite more muscle mass? Is it because I want to get a better type of conditioning for stage? Is it because I want to be able to enhance my recovery? And it's probably the last two that I would usually talk to him more about. My recovery is actually really good because my kind of training cycle.
I would have said those two, the last one out of the last two would have been the only reason I personally
I guess for women's physique, though, the level of conditioning that I'll need to bring to stage is obviously going to be.
Yeah. And obviously, you and Matt sit there very, very closely and discuss these things. And what I've seen from condition wise, yeah. But it's your first show. You've recovered from cervical cancer, crying out loud, to then, like, how many months later stepping on stage?
Yeah,
it's sort. I know it's a little bit personal thing, but this, at the end of the day, that's a massive, massive achievement. I've got a client who's had very, very, very aggressive breast cancer, a very rare, like really, really bad breast cancer. And there was a point where they were actually, you might not make this, love, you know what I mean? But she has fought through all of this. She's only been with me for what, 15 weeks now, and like the turnaround in this time, and she had the all clear, and even that is like, wow. And she forgets where she was. She compares herself to the day before she was diagnosed with cancer. And she's had steroids, she's ballooned, she's coming back down. And, you know, the fact of it is she's like doing pull-ups, and like, she's not small, but she's not, she's a curvy, she's a Jessica Rabbit style like body, right? And I'm like, you beat yourself up because scales don't budge.
Look at what you're doing. I bet at the depth of her diagnosis, she would absolutely love to know that that was where she was going to be come the end of it.
I said, hey, you've beaten really bad cancer, right? And now it's like every 12 months she has to have a scan. That's it. The only time they have to go and see it. 2, I said, you're losing weight, but you're burning body fat off you and keeping muscle mass. You're
adding years to your life now, you know.
Exactly. And then I said, on top of that, your life is just going up instead of going down. You know, osteoarthritis, the whole shaboogles, all that stuff. I said, no offense, who's going to be picking you up off the floor? Because
exactly,
you're a single mum too.
I think that's certainly one thing I always fall into the trap of, is I see, you know, I have a number of athletes that I admire in terms of their look. And then sometimes when I hear these females speak on their Instagram, I'm just blown away. You know, their voice is so thick, it's so raspy, it's so deep. And I would never say about an athlete looking, you know, some of the words people use, like, oh, she looks like a dude, or she looks like this. That's not about, just because I might not like a look, I'm not going to be derogatory about it. I still respect the journey that that person has put in, that graft. I'm not ignorant to think that it's just the roids that have got them there. You know, the reality is the average sort of, you know, Tom, Dick and Harry down the gym probably pedals more than someone that's actually a competitor these days, because they're totally ignorant to what's actually required as the building blocks, first of all. But if, in my mind, I'm like, okay, so if I perhaps tried at least some lipolytics, like if I tried T3 or Clen or something, at least when I compete next time, I'm kind of like, well, I'm then not assisted. I'm then not unassisted, I'm then assisted. So it's like, why just stick at that? You know, probably dip my toe in the water and try an oral. Well, why would I just try an oral if I'm up against girls that are peddling other stuff? So it's kind of like, I don't think there is just one layer to it. Like, you know, it's all or nothing.
It's not, it's you are, okay, this is the easiest way, is there's the lake, you're either in it and swimming in it, or you're on dry land doing what you're doing.
Exactly. And I think
there's nothing here. There's no,
like for guys as well, isn't it? If you're going to compete, you know, get in, blast, go heavy, do what you need to do, and just get out. You know, don't just kind of protract it over sort of 15, 20 years where you're just constantly taking these crazy high cycles. Because I think as well, because it's just so easy to get a lot of this stuff corrected now, you know, lose your hair, get a hair transplant, get, you know, all the dodgy stuff that happens with their chests and stuff, and they can go and get gynae surgery. It's almost like you can get something wrong and you can just reverse it. But for a woman, it isn't really like that, you know, when the jaw,
you can't you know, the biggest one is right, and this is the scariest part, right? I've known women who have taken literally 10 milligrams of Anavar,
and it's sterilized them,
and their whole voice has changed.
Yeah, and again, I don't know whether, because my testosterone levels are high, whether it then mean I'm more like a guy and I could be able to take higher levels, because it's ratio based, right?
It is ratio based.
Or am I at a point where I'm so high up that just dipping one extra little thing is like, boom, Charlotte turns to Charlotte.
Okay, so if you're saying you're a little bit hairier now, right? Okay. Well, look, I've been on and off gear for probably 10 years now, right? Okay. For 47, flip me, how many 47-year-olds have still got full barnet, right?
Was that a trip to Turkey, was it, that sorted that out?
Definitely not a trip to Turkey, thanks. You know, and like, you know, I'm not the hairiest dude in the world, but at the same time, it hasn't affected me. But there isn't, in other ways, it has affected me. Each person's individual, okay? And, you know, you might end up taking a bit of Anavar and your voice could change. You could take a bit of Primo, and the next minute things are growing.
I need to definitely work out, you know, what the goal is in terms of, do I believe that I would stand a chance as being competitive on a women's physique stage if I took some PEDs? That's a question I've got to ask myself, because if I still don't believe that I would be competitive, what's the point? Firstly, I just don't believe anyone should be taking them if they're not thinking about competing, right? Like, you know, the average woman, it should not be given any of this sort of stuff, just to put that out there. This is purely just for a competitive dynamic.
But again, this is now, like you said, you could walk into most.
Oh, it's normalized. It's normalized. I had a girl literally text me on message me on a DM saying, "Babe, I want to try and lose weight. I'm on 1,200 calories. Do you think I should run a bit of Anavar?" You know, she's a mum that's breastfeeding. Yeah, 37-year-old mum that's breastfeeding.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'm like, where on earth have you heard that from, sweetheart? And she's like, well, I hear other like girls do it, and obviously they'll see bikini girls that run it looking like that and assume that it's the VAR that's done that, and it's kind of like frightening, isn't it? It's just frightening that it's just become that kind of normalized.
Well, it's like TRTs now, and obviously, yeah, younger guys, it was like the phase of, right, okay, going back 10 years, say, it was like, oh yeah, okay, we'll do some orals. You do a bit of orals, you're absolutely screwing your kidneys up, like, and your liver up, like, rapidly. No. It's injectables. Injectables do it. No. Toxicity levels from an oral to an injectable, massively different. Huge.
Yeah, and actually, I think only when you are at the depths of that vulnerability, you know, when I was getting my bloods back after being diagnosed with cancer, when you see that you've kind of got, fortunately, all of my organs and everything were kind of good, apart from my inflammatory markers and the infection markers and stuff at the time when I was really poorly. But it makes you really realize, like, your body is very, very fragile. Once one thing's gone wrong, it's like a domino effect. And when you are immunosuppressed, as a result of my cervical cancer, I picked up an infection 12 months later when I just went to the hospital for an appointment, because I was so immunocompromised that I just was picking up things left, right, and center. And, you know, I almost would have felt embarrassed if I was going to the doctors, getting them to help me, and then they looked at my bloods and saw, well, you're pretty hepatotoxic, what's going on here? Or I'm just peddling some PEDs because I want to do a bodybuilding show. You know, that wasn't the right time. And I think because I've made so much progress without, although I don't think I have, like, I want to make more. It's also, it is like the forbidden fruit, right?
But when is enough? When is enough? Okay. So you look at the likes of, you probably, I don't know if you know, because you're a bit younger than me, Iris Kyle, for instance, right? 8-time Miss Olympia. She's like a small version of Ronnie Coleman. Was back in the day. You look her up, right? Okay, and there is some, you know, I'll tell you something off air about her, but it's a rumor.
But is that, let me ask you, is that shocking to you as a man because you don't think a woman should look that way? Putting that out there to you, what's shocking about her look to you?
I don't think there's anything. Look, I've got nothing wrong at all of a woman being the size of Ronnie Coleman whatsoever, right? Or a woman's version of Ronnie Coleman whatsoever. I've seen how, I've watched videos of her, how she's trained. It's phenomenal. I've judged at a high level. I've judged in Australia. I've seen the standards from a country that, you know, I love to death. Standards, unless it's IFBB, which most of them disappear off over to America, because the IFBB in Australia is like smallish in comparison to, say, like here in the UK. Bodybuilding in Australia is a lot. It's very, very popular in a different way, in a natty way, but they're not natties. They're fake natties. I can tell you, one of my clients when I was in Oz, the girl who beat her on stage turned around and openly said after she literally passed out going up onto the stage. We gave her some water, brought her around, went on stage, beat my client, walked off stage with my client, cuddling her, saying, thanks very much, but I have to be honest, I took stuff to get me up here.
Were they not tested?
No, because you think of how many you're talking, like in ICN or IMBA in Australia, the amount of, say for instance, like Two Bros is our biggest one here, right?
Yeah.
Okay. How many people are at Two Bro Show now? 200 people, 200 competitors on a busy one, right? Put it this way. Across the age group of bikini at some of these, at like the what they call the state finals, you could have 200 in a class.
Shit, right.
Yeah. So you're going to test 200
I
people.
think there's something morally so wrong in a sport where it's like legalized, it's allowed, you're sort of actually allowed to take this stuff. Why go and step on someone's stage and shit all over them when they have? I'm not saying that a natural athlete is better, not at all. I don't have any hierarchy of it whatsoever. They're just different, right? They're just different.
Very, very different.
Why?
I dated an Australian ICN figure champ while I was in Oz, right? And no joke, between a natty, and she was natty, to basically what I've judged, night and day. It's night and day. It's night and day. Different muscle structures, the whole shaboodles, and you can tell that if you're experienced at it and you know it and you can see the differences. But to go, like you say, jump on someone's stage and say that they're this but they're that.
Like that's not, it's just a hollow win, isn't it? You might as well just go and steal the trophy because you've not won a trophy in a natural federation. And I just think that's so wrong. You know, if you take something, go and own how amazing you look on an assisted stage with everyone else where it's a fair playing field. No one's going to think less of you if you've taken stuff. No one's going to think anything of you because when you're on an assisted federation, everyone's taken what they've needed to take to get the best version of themselves. That's your place to do it. There's a natural stage for a reason. You know, there could be people that have had health ailments that don't allow them to take those sorts of things, but this gives them an opportunity to compete, you know. So why go and compete with them when you've got another stage?
It's the same situation about 7 years ago here, when you started getting people doing first timers in PCA.
Yeah, that's another thing.
Right? And then they jump over to IFBB and do say they've done a first timers, but they've just come second at the first timers in the PCA.
Yeah, first timers. It's like,
wait a second, mate, you're a first timer. You've already competed. You're a novice. Get in the novice class. But it happens, unfortunately.
But that again, I think highlights why the competitors are competing. They're wanting the end result. They're wanting the trophy. It's not about actually being the best version of them, is it? They're just wanting that little gold medal that they can put on.
Not even that. It's a piece of paper. It's a little card, and it says IFBB Pro.
True, but I wouldn't mind having one. So I wouldn't mind having one, to be fair.
IFBB Pro card. Wait a second. No. Wait a second. Now I can charge the world. Wait a second. I'm a pro.
Yeah, and I was chatting to my coach about this in terms of what would be like if I ever turned pro, how would that change my life? Would it allow me to, you know, have a bigger platform for my coaching? What's kind of like the goal? And actually, bizarrely, I think that I am more marketable as a coach with a look that's still kind of hopefully not too, I don't want to use the word extreme, or hopefully I don't mean that. I just think I'm more marketable as a coach, perhaps being as I am now, than if I was to, you know.
If I'm brutally honest, yeah, you are at the level ended of extreme, right? Because this is the problem where extreme starts to come in, right? Anything above bikini, okay, you start to freak out. Women in general start to freak out. Oh my God, you're looking. So you go to figure, right? It's like, I'm a little bit. Oh, she's like, whoa, man, she's got six pack. She's got veins coming out of veins, where on top of veins in every place known to man. Oh, I'm not too sure about that. So then that's when wellness came into play, because women who are a little bit more thick set, couldn't get down to a figure level or build into a figure level because they'd have to diet so hard, so extreme, right? But if you look at the evolution of wellness, it's got bigger, harder, bigger, harder, bigger, harder.
I guess that's what bikini's done too, and that's why they've needed the fit model division, right?
Exactly, yeah. And this isn't the sport of what it was.
No, I agree. I looked at some bigger athletes from 20 years ago. It's just a completely different look, isn't it? It's just completely different.
So they're growing it as a business, not a sport. Okay. But people don't see the differences because they weren't around back then, or now this is the norm. right?
I think there is a bit more chat behind the scenes now about figure not getting any bigger. I don't think they want those girls to be
No.
any more like monstrous, you know.
Why do you think they brought weight category into classic for
Yeah,
men?
I wonder if they'll do that with women because they don't obviously have weight categories, do they? You
No,
know.
because then that'd be discrimination of weight. You can't do that for a woman. No, no, no. Whoa.
No, no. Well, even just at my kids' primary school, they got weighed for a scientific experiment, but some of the girls and guys, boys, they were like, I don't want to be weighed, you know, it's against my
No, 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 I can't do that. It's not, no, 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 it's not PC. Not PC. But unfortunately, that's how the world's going. I'm on that one. But it's a case of the sport is a business now. It's not a sport. And that's, you have to
Shame, isn't
accept
it? Shame.
it. It is a shame because it's like any sport, apart from like football, right? Take football out of the equation because the money rights in football is just ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
Go back to like rugby into the late 90s and early 2000s, where it started to become very, very like commercialized and they turned pro. Now, pro footballer, as in football or soccer, for some people who are listening from my followers around the world, is they're earning silly money, silly money. But a rugby player, unless it's like in Australia or a Southern Hemisphere team, or even in France, they're earning good money. Here in the UK, they're not. So but now people think they're going to earn more money becoming a pro than they would be by coaching.
Yeah, I think even worse for women, right? The higher up the ranks you get, the less marketable you come, the less
Yeah,
sponsorship deals there are. You know, I dare say, I mean, not for you because you're in the industry, but the average person on the street would not be able to name who has won the figure title 8 times running at the Olympia. They might be able to name Ronnie Coleman or
yeah,
Arnie or some of the
yeah.
big, kind of boys from like the 80s, 90s and stuff. But in terms of the female bodybuilding stage, most people, unless they are a bodybuilder within that category, have no idea who is,
And this is my argument point of a pro card, right? Unless you are a bit like I would say you're probably 90% for the sport and 10% business out of it, right? Is unless you've got that dying urge, a pro card isn't going to make you any money.
Yeah,
Pro
I
card
agree.
isn't
This is
going
the chat I
because
was having with my coach as well about, downsizing from figure. Like that wouldn't help me just to try to fit into a figure category to
I wouldn't.
potentially win a pro card because I love going to the gym and lifting and the type of training that I do, my physique is just naturally going to progress to
It
get bigger.
will do, and this is why I say to you is I don't think at this stage a cycle of any sort is necessary. I've seen, I've only known you a short period of time and followed you for a while, but you can see the progressional stages, and yeah, now knowing a lot more finer details, yeah, you will only progress upwards. You can't regress. You'd have to take. We'll put it this way. My last client, I got on Arnold stage, right? We did a very sensible cycle. We did 2 lots of bloods through the middle of a cycle. Everything's hunky dory, right? We got it to the Arnolds. Again, like you were saying earlier, with some judges, like certain people's physiques, the head judge, was known not to like my client. Full stop. Didn't care. Didn't matter. She should have come higher than fifth. She should have come probably second, in my opinion. But at the end of the day, we did it as a safe cycle. Okay. But no cycle is 100% safe. Ever.
Yeah, I think a lot of people
And to get
don't
to the
think of it
pro
like
card
that.
nowadays, but the problem is people want that pro card and they don't think the longevity factor.
You know what's so weird as well? When you're in prep, you feel like everything is about that. And it's like any decision you make, as long as it aligns to your end goal of stage, then it's the right decision. But the
Yeah.
moment you walk off that stage, traffic is still going past. People are still going to work the next day. People's lives haven't stopped. And you still have to live. You have to live with any ramifications that may well have come to you as a result of that prep
100%.
journey.
100%. And then it affects everyone else around you, your moods, your.
But then in my mind, I'm like, if I don't want to take that risk, perhaps I just don't want the end goal, the pro goal enough, because when that is such a massive goal for you, you will just say fuck it to everything else because you are unrelenting.
But you've got to look at it as is that really going to determine who I am? Okay. And
well, for some people, yes. I think for some people that pro card is literally that is
my ex-client, that's it. Only reason she's in the sport. Pro card. At the end of the day, right? If you've realistically been in the sport for as long as she had, the likelihood gets less and less each time, right? Genetically, at this moment in time, I would say you're in the top 2% genetically to grow into your class. You haven't touched anything, right? You haven't touched anything, so you're growing into the class that you want.
You were saying you can usually tell, like I have a sports therapist and he says you can tell, like when you feel my muscles, they just feel different. They don't, if you actually look really closely at my physique, you can tell I'm not like boxed off, it's not got that same fullness. There's not that.
Can tell by the condition. And do you know what gives you away the most? Your abs.
In what sense?
Because if they were, as you were just saying, they'll be a lot fuller. Everything would be a lot fuller, a little bit harder, a little bit more grainy. And as I was saying to you yesterday when I messaged you, right? All you're lacking is that deep muscle maturity. You've only been doing this 4 years.
Yeah.
Okay. How long's Matt been training? How long's Matt been training?
I think like 12 years probably now. 10.
Right. Look at the density factor of Matt's lats, right? They're not this wide, but the thickness and the density is a lot more.
Oh, he'll like you saying that. He'll like you for you saying
that. I'm sure Matt will like that. But what I'm saying is it's a lot thicker and dense, right? Because he's got muscle maturity there.
Yeah.
Because he's been doing it for so long.
And that is the one thing about bodybuilding. You can't expedite that process. You can't rush that process.
Can't rush it. So this was my biggest problem with my ex-client who I got to the Arnolds, right? She used to compete year in, year out, multiple times every year. Multiple times. Like 4 or 5 shows in a row. Just to chase this pro card, right? I'm like, take time out. She was with me 18 months. So her previous coach was an Olympian. Yeah, she got diddled in Sweden, and her coach turned around and sent her a link after the show. What do you reckon it was?
I don't know. What was the link for?
Where to buy testosterone from.
Oh God.
Yeah. Said if you want to get pro card, you need that. Now I took her on, and her bloods were all over the place. Within 6 weeks, we got her bloods back to normal. I said, "You're not training. You're taking time out." She looked at me like, "What?"
I mean, she's not setting herself up for an optimal peak if she's just literally in and out of practicing all the time.
Exactly, all the time. So basically, had a year off of competing, and then
come back probably.
Came back for a first show. So she was moving to Canada. She surprised me with a rule that was turned out to be an utter lie, which I thought it was. She had to do a national qualifier here, so she just had to jump on stage here. So I had 11 days. Luckily, her off season, she's a bit like you, lean for a bikini girl. I had 11 days to get her on stage.
Oh, that's mad.
I got her on stage in 9, right? So she came 5th. Didn't matter. It wasn't last in the class. She came 5th in her class. Qualified. We went and did the Toronto Pro. She walked on stage with a temperature of 39.9 degrees fever. Absolute 48 hours before. Unreal. Best ever.
Always the way.
Loads of size on her in the right way. Put it this way, she'll never have to do upper body workouts like severely again. The American girls are massive anyway, right? So yeah, she came fifth in that show. We got her then said, right, well, she tried to do another show 3 weeks later, the Vancouver. I said, no chance. You're letting your body rest. You're ill. She's like, no, I'll be fine. I was like, no, rested. Following year, I got her to the Arnold stage this year. And but at the end of the day, she wanted to come in hard and grainy and look hard and grainy. I said, it's not the criteria.
Yeah, that's it. You can sometimes get knocked down for being too straight, too lean.
And you have to, and at the end of the day, if a head judge doesn't like you, you ain't going to change their mind.
Mm.
Unfortunately, yes, they should be doing their job professionally, right? But unfortunately, in this sport, I'm telling you now, from first-hand experience, I did a show, and a certain British, very highly, I'm not sure if he's pro or not, but a very high amateur. Okay, owns a gym in Waltham Abbey. If you know him, you might. He walked in the building. I went to my old coach I did podcast with last week. I walked up to him and said, this person's in the building. Why are we even judging him? He's won already. And he, fair enough, he won the overall. It was literally demolished the whole field. It was game over. Before he even stepped on stage, it was game over.
Everyone knew that was the winner.
But everyone knew it. But we could have just said, right, pack up show, see you later, give him the overall, see the bye. It was literally, don't bother coming on stage with him. It was ridiculous. He went on and did the Worlds with Wabba that year in Tenerife.
Do you still judge?
Do I? I haven't judged 4 years.
Do you miss it?
No, it's fucking hard.
You probably just get a little shit, don't you?
It's not the shit, right? It's fucking hard. It blows your head. Like, I can remember my first ever show I did was great. And then the second show I did, the stage was fucking tiny. There was 32 or 36 bikini girls in it.
Yeah, I think it gets to a point where you've just got so much arse in your face.
Well, we had literally no joke. So the stage was
How do you judge that?
The stage it was that small, right? Yeah, I was like, surely we're breaking this up. So we had to break them up into sixes, right? And then your brain's going, shit, first to six, yeah, done. Then first.
Oh yeah, then you got those six, the first six.
So the poor guy who was doing it, learning how to do judging, right? I didn't know, so I rocked up, and I've come over from Oz, right? I got asked to do it. So when I was living in Oz, and came back, it's like, right, this is Phil, right? And I'm like, all right, Phil, no worries. How's it going? Really, yeah, and enjoying it. Good laugh. And bikinis came on. Oh fuck, I hate this. I hate bikini. And then obviously the stage was small. I was like, I looked at the sheet. I started counting. I got to 20.
Oh, the sheep just coming on the stage.
Sheet, the next page. Fucking hell. There's 36 fucking women up here.
I've seen it sometimes where they hand out the award to the wrong name because they've just got so confused with who's who. They did that with the fit model. They handed out the IFBB Pro card to the wrong name, which had to then walk back to the side. It's mortifying. Absolutely mortifying.
Well, I can nearly mortify myself badly on this one. So getting through all these girls, get to the last six, right? And it's this tiny little brunette.
Your ex, is it? Is it your ex?
No, it's not my ex. Not my ex. No, not. This is even funnier, right? So I'm like, yeah, okay, yep. I'm discussing this with Phil next to me. Right, Phil, yeah, this is why. She had these bikini pants on, but it had a frill on the outside edge. I'm like, it's not the look that we're looking for in the bikini. So obviously we stuck to our criteria, right? And I'm like, yeah, well, if I was her, I'd have changed her pants. She'd have come further up like this, right?
Right.
And anyway, so we judged for all the 36. Next minute, bikini's over. This little brunette, tidy little brunette, comes rocking around. Like, feels older than me, right? It's like, and we've taken a break because it was bikini, and then we had a intermission. This little brunette comes rocking around. You're right, babe. How you doing? It's his girlfriend.
His girlfriend.
I was like, oh fuck! Please swallow the ground. Please swallow me. I've just literally ripped into her. Yeah, she needs this. And he sat there.
But at least in many ways, that's a good thing that you didn't know, because otherwise you would have given biased feedback. Well, you wouldn't have given biased feedback, but like, it's probably best that you don't know.
I was like, oh my God. I was like, please, Earth mover now. Dig me the hole. Get out of here.
So you stayed away from judging for 4 years. It's probably the best.
Yeah, no, it's not my. I love it. I love doing it. The last time I did like proper big show, I sponsored Body Power, so that was great. That was internationals. So
I wonder if you'll ever be there when I compete. Look, get her off. She looks like shit.
That's right. I know her. Yeah, that's a mark. The insult. Oh yeah, more insults. She's chucked at me on Instagram.
That's a piss in a bottle and test if she's a natty. I don't believe her.
Yeah, something like that.
I am going to have to wrap things up because I've got to go and get my kids.
That's not a problem. Thank you very much for coming on board and having this. Definitely like to do something again in the future with you. I think you've got some really sound experience and advice for everyone. So guys, girls, this is Charlotte, and this is a wrap with the No Bullshit Gymcast podcast. So peace out and thanks very much.